Welcome to another thrilling episode of Garage Geek, where I always encourage my audience to try to be more intelligent. I hope you had a great week. I did. We have one full week left of school, and then about a half a week after that. 2 days with students, and 1 day without students. So, full 5 days, 2 days with students, and then one day without. So total of 8 days, and then I am free. And the kids do not want to do any work. They know the grades are almost done, and I'm just encouraging them to work on one little final project. We're writing appreciation letters to people at the school, and then I'm encouraging them to hand in any work to get the highest grade possible. But most of the kids, they don't want to do anything. They're done. They just want to be on their phones, playing around with their friends. I totally get it, but I'm just like over it because it's basically trying to keep them calm and on task, which is hard during the year. But now at the end of the year, okay, today I have my yellow cup. I love this cup. So I don't know if you can see that. It looks like a B from where I'm sitting, but it's actually a D for David. That's my first name, if you didn't know. Yes, I didn't come out of the womb with the name Garage Geek. But having said that, my husband bought this. It's the Rise Mushroom Coffee. And so we're starting it, and he's hoping for miracles. I'm a little bit more suspect about it, but I'm definitely trying it. And it's supposed to, in place of coffee, although you can use it with coffee. Anyways, I'm trying it, and that's what I have in the cup right now. And I actually don't mind the taste. I still have to put my coffee creamer into it to adjust the flavor, which I really need to wean myself off that, because that's where you get a lot of the calories and a lot of just things that aren't very good for you. But yeah, and this stuff is pretty expensive. You have to order it by mail. But I'll keep you abreast of how this experiment is going with the two of us. So I have movies, one show, and a couple books to share with you. I also have some kind of news events. So the big thing this morning when I turned on the news was Trump's conviction and the reaction to it. So I'm really looking forward to watching Bill Maher this week and seeing his commentary on it. It was really interesting. It went about. First of all, I'm surprised that he got convicted, and number two, the reaction to it, although it doesn't surprise me, it's still very interesting when you hear the reaction from both sides of his fans and not fans, as supporters and non-supporters, I would say. You could see my my voice isn't that great because I went out with my husband and a friend yesterday to celebrate his birthday, and of course, drinks, and you're in loud places, and my voice kind of is suffering a little bit from that. Also, drinking the next day, it takes me, now when I drink, I've said this before, it takes me a couple of days to kind of fully recuperate from that. So this is the day after. Last weekend, we had a day off. So Monday, my husband and I went to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So I might as well talk about that movie now. No, you know what? I'll get to it. But after the movie, we ate out, and then we went shopping, and I got some magazines and a book. So I was able to buy, I found these two magazines, the 500 Greatest Albums of the 1980s and the 500 Greatest Albums of the 1990s. And they're such cool magazines. More about these later. And I also got this American Art magazine, and it's really nice because even though it's more modern style or modern artists, the art in it is really, really nice. So I'm enjoying looking through this, and I can't wait to read some of the articles. And they do have like full page or if they don't have full page, they do have quite a few images that are really nice and really fun to look at. And I'm looking forward to delving into that magazine a little bit more. And this magazine was not very expensive. It was $10. I think that's pretty cheap for a magazine these days, because these magazines were 20 each, because they come from England. So as I was looking through these magazines, I found out that there's actually 4. And there's a magazine for the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. So my daughter lives near a place where they sell magazines, and I asked her to stop and see if she could find either the 60s or 70s. And she was successful in that she was able to find the 70s, but still we don't have any luck finding the 60s. I'm going to a party tomorrow night, and it's across the city. So I'm going to try to make a couple of calls to see if any of the places near there might have that magazine. I'm hoping to, because I'd like to have the whole collection. And I'm going to show you why later in this episode. So I'm going to show off about that. So let's go ahead and go to movies. Might as well start with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is what I saw first. Now let me go to my photos. So here is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So it is the latest in the Planet of the Apes movies, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I will, like, throughout the whole movie, beautiful special effects, amazing. I really, really liked the movie. But at the end, I left with this like weird feeling of like, oh, I've seen this all before. It was like nothing really new. And I don't think that's really fair. It was just like this fleeting moment, but it really did feel like nothing really new was brought, and that's not true. There were additions made to the movie. It's the same story over and over again. A down and out ape triumphs in the end over all these obstacles. Whatever. It was a really good movie, and the special effects are amazing. The way these apes look and feel, they just seem real. And this one added the element of humanity, although the other movies had humans in them as well. So I take that back. So I don't know. That sounds like maybe a jaded review. I did thoroughly enjoy the movie, but I kind of left feeling like, oh, I was glad I had seen it, but nothing really new was coming from that. Then I watched Dune. I was really looking forward to this. So Dune 2, which is streaming on HBO. And I have to say that I loved it. I would recommend that you watch this movie. I mean, it's a master filmmaker, great cast. I know my friend in Iowa has a problem with Zendaya and Chalamet. It's like, are they strong enough to really lead a movie like this? And I thought that even if they did have some flaws, the rest of the movie more than overcame that. It's just, you have a brilliant filmmaker creating this world, and I hope that they will continue the Dune series. Highly recommend Dune 2, which is streaming now. And then the final movie that I watched was a documentary called The Contestant. I didn't know much about this. I just know that it was a recommended documentary, and wow, this was good. So this is about a Japanese guy who goes on a show, and he doesn't even really know. He auditions for a show, and he's chosen, and he has to be isolated, naked and isolated in a room. And his job is he has to survive on things that he's won from magazine contests. Now, I guess in Asia, this is a really big thing. So he had all these magazines, and all he would do is write postcards every day. And his goal was to get, I think, to get to 1,000,000 yen, and then he would win. Now, he was being filmed the entire time, and he would talk to the camera. And he didn't realize that it was live. He thought that at the end of this, that they might put it together as a show or as a special or something. But he was being filmed the entire time. It was very Truman Show, sorry. And this was back before there were actual reality shows. This is like the first one, and it was in Japan. And when you watch like his journey, and then you go through everything that he went through, and then they talk about everything that the producer left out. Like, the producer really comes off as being kind of a monster, because this guy was so lonely and sad, and he was at times thinking about committing suicide, and but the producers would just keep going. For example, near the beginning, he wasn't getting any prizes, or if he did, he got prizes that were things, and they wouldn't give him any food. He had to survive on what he was winning. So they finally had to give him like crackers to keep him alive. And then he got like rice. And it's really crazy because he has rice, but he has no way to cook it. Oh my Lord, what this guy went through. And when you see him like this, it's hilarious because he's always got this like really positive attitude. And like he's every morning he would, greet the camera and talk. But he went through his whole day being filmed. And so here's another, like, he would be just stuck in this room. And he actually goes through the entire process. You know what? I'm not going to spoil it. You really, really should watch this documentary. It's amazing. They also go to his life post what happens after the show. And he really struggles to make meaning of his life. It's so well done. And it shows like what he goes on to do. And I'm just saying that this is such a good documentary that I really, really think that you should drop what you're doing, turn me off, and go watch it. I believe it. Yeah, it's on Hulu. Such a good documentary. And that's it. So Dune 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and The Contestant. I did start watching the most recent season of Evil. Now, this is a show that I absolutely love, and it's streaming on Paramount Plus. Unfortunately, they're releasing one episode per week. So the second episode is available. In fact, I'm going to watch it tonight. But this is just a show that I really, really like. I've loved it from the beginning. It's basically the Monster of the Week type of show, but all the drama around the characters, and there are ongoing issues that go cross episodes. I just think that this is really well done, and I'm really into the characters, all three of them. I really, really, really enjoyed this show. Evil. All right, on to books. When I went shopping, I forgot to tell you, besides buying magazines, I bought one book, and that was the Best American Short Stories of 2023. Now, I haven't read all of these, but I have a bunch of these books, and I've had them in the past. And every time that I read these books, I really, really enjoy them. So it was my goal to read one story a day, and I actually did that, except for yesterday because, like I said, I went out to celebrate my husband's birthday. So the first three stories were really good. So I'm totally enjoying this. If you would like me to break down the stories, please let me know in the comments. I will talk about each story and each author if that's what you would like to hear. Through Amazon, I got these two books. I didn't love these like generic type covers. Recently, I read the first Star Wars book, which was called Splinter of the Mind's Eye by Alan Dean Foster. And these set of books, I think, were written around that time. So this is the Han Solo Adventures. This is by Brian Daley. There's actually 3 books in this series. And then there's one about Lando Calrissian. And there are also 3 novels in this. So I am looking forward to reading these during the summer. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the books. The other two books. So you know that I have a goal of a book per week getting done. And I've been focusing on my sci-fi books because I have so many of them. But I also made a New Year's resolution. So my New Year's resolution was to finish a lot of the books that I had started. So I went ahead and grabbed this book, The Flame Trees of Tika, by Elsbeth Huxley. Now, this is a book that I talked about before. I was about halfway through it. I did finish it. This book is amazing. I don't know how to really like explain this book in that it's like quiet beauty. There's so much description here of something that's gone. Of course, this is a woman who's older and she's remembering her life as a child, and of course that lens uh you know changes or is the focus of how she writes, right? Because she's looking at it from somebody 50 or 60 years removed, and the culture and the times had changed. Because of course there's a lot you could talk about exploitation of like native peoples, and of course colonizers, and these ideas do come up, but it's always with this sense of the girl who's actually from the point of view of the older woman. She does realize the problems and she does write about some of them, but it's mainly about the life that was in that she had. It's basically like a plantation in Africa, and there's so much beauty that she writes about, and her descriptions are gorgeous. And in fact, I did not want to finish this book because I knew, well, the last, I would say, like quarter of the book is about World War One, and how it changes everything. And I knew at the very end she would have to say goodbye to this place where she grew up, and it was really the only home that she really ever knew. And I knew it was coming, and it was so well written that I didn't want to leave this place. I loved this book so much. If you could ever get a copy of this book and read it, and you could just get lost in the beauty and this age that is lost. And again, some people would say deservedly so. This is, la la la. You know what? I hear you, but this is such a beautifully written book, and I would just say you should seek it out. Such a great book. And then the next book I'm going to praise as well, and this was The People in the Trees by Hanya Hanagihara. Let me go ahead and find that book, the book cover. So, The People in the Trees by Hanya Yanagihara. Oh, so it's Yanagihara, not Hanya. Okay, Yanagihara, sorry. This book was phenomenal. So good. Now, she has written 3 books that I know of. And A Little Life, I started it. I got 100 pages into it, and I had to put it down for some reason. It was really good. I'm definitely going back to that, especially after I read this one. I believe this is her first novel, and wow, did she knock it out of the ballpark. There was so much going on in this book. And number one, it deals with this unreliable narrator. And then you have somebody writing about the unreliable narrator or editing the unreliable narrator. So it gives this depth. And then there's just so much going on in this. And there's actually a lot of things in this book that if you're squeamish, you won't want to read. I'll leave it at that. There's so much going on in this book. It's about a scientist who is basically, this guy's a loser. No one wants him. No one wants to hire him. They send him into the woods with a team just because they want to get rid of him. And he ends up doing some horrible things. And because of this, he wins the Nobel Prize. This gives him power, and it gives him power over children in many ways. And I don't want to spoil it because like so much happens because of what he does, and it affects so many people and so many lives. And even when he tries to do good, all he does is do harm. This is not a short book. This was 17 hours, or I think, yeah, 17 hours in audio. But wow, was it fascinating. This woman is a good writer. And I know that A Little Life went on to garner way more praise than this one. And even a couple of online viewers said that this sets up that. And I thought this was astounding. So now I can't wait to jump into A Little Life and see how much better that one is. So if you're interested in so one part of this book, it's like a huge chunk of this. They go into the forest and they encounter this tribe of people who have never been discovered before, and they sit there and they document their lives and their cultures and their customs. It's fascinating. And even though none of this is real, it feels real. It's such great writing. So you're like going in there with these people and discovering this tribe for yourselves, but there's a darkness that underlies it. And I'm just saying this whole book is really, really well done and fascinating. I highly recommend it. I think I'm just like highly recommending everything today except Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which you can take with a grain of salt. I still enjoyed it. All right. My throat is getting raw. I'm going to take a sip of my mushroom coffee. I hope you didn't drop off from that. So now I'm going to talk about the final thing. One reason that I like these magazines so much is because they're visual, and it gives me like a way to discover music. I don't trust these rankings. I know that their number one is not going to be the same as another magazine's. I've seen different magazines put out at the same time have totally different top tens. I get all that. But what this does is it can introduce me to a bunch of CDs that I've never heard. And I'm gonna show you an example. So from the 1960s, so I didn't have the 1961, but I looked it up. And I'm gonna show you that I put them in order. So these are the 4 albums that are recommended at 500 for the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I'd never heard any of them. So I went ahead and listened to all 4 this week, and I'm going to rank them. I should actually do this in a separate video and break down the songs and tell you which ones I like the most. And but I'm trying this out, and I'm going to see how it goes. If that is something you're interested in, let me know. There's certainly a lot to do because there's 500 of them. So I didn't have the 1960s one, but the 1960s was called this AM Music from 1967. And this recording was weird. It's truly avant-garde. It's like freestyle jazz with all these like weird voices thrown in and weird sounds. I told Scott that I from No Solution that I thought it was like a soundtrack for Skinamarink with that movie, which, you know, I had a bad reaction to that movie, but he actually really, really liked it. It's just this weird instrumental that is, it's just strange. I found this on YouTube because it's not on Spotify. I would recommend that you just put it on for 5 minutes and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Scott was like, I don't know if this is genius or trash. And that's so true. Yeah. So I cheated. I was rubbing my nose behind this. I don't know why my nose is itchy. I did it, and then I felt guilty, and I confessed. Okay. So that was from the one from 1960. 1970 was Hawkwind. Now, Hawkwind is a band I definitely know about, but I've never really listened to them. And I ended up, this album, it says, with Robert Calvert back supplying the science fiction and Simon House the moto violin, Hawkwind were the same but different, armed with excellent tunes and mildly irresponsible revolutionary chic. Here, the band future-proofed themselves for the late 1970s. And it totally sounds like sci-fi. This was fun. It took me quite a few listens, not quite a few. By about the third listen, I was like really, really into it and getting into the songs. So I really enjoyed that. So that was number 500 from the 70s. From the 80s, number 500 was 10,000 Maniacs, The Wishing. So this is Natalie Merchant's somersaulting vocals and Robert Buck's crystalline guitar, wonderfully wed on the Maniacs' second album, their major label debut, where reworked traditionals and compulsive folk rock turned on the suede, shoed, and thoughtful. So I did enjoy this a lot, but not as much as I thought. Now, I'm a little bit biased because Natalie Merchant's Ophelia album is one of my top 10. To me, it's a perfect album, and it's just one of my favorites. So this doesn't compare to that for me. However, it was a great album. It just seems like her voice is kind of wavery in parts, and she would be fighting to be heard over the music. So I didn't always think that her voice complemented the music, although I really did enjoy this album. And then for the 1990s, it was Steve Earle and the Del McCoury Band, The Mountain, from 1999. In tribute to the genre's founder, Bill Monroe, Earle constructed his first fully bluegrass album. He revels in the knee-slapping energies of Texas Eagle and Carrie Brown and the Mule Train Lament, I'm Still in Love with You, assisted by Iris DeMent. And Iris DeMent sounds great on this album. So this album for me was phenomenal. It was my favorite of all four. I have heard Steve Earle before. I think it was the bluegrass that did it. He and his band, it meshed so well with this bluegrass style. I love this album. It has so many standout moments. So this was my absolute favorite of the four. So I went ahead and ranked them. Here you go. The 60s with 1 star, the 80s with 2, the 70s with 3, and the 90s with 4, which surprises me because the 90s is my least favorite of the decades. So I'm actually going to keep track. So far, the 60s have 1 point and the 90s have 4. So there you go. I broke the 4 recordings down. Please let me know if you would like me to do that here, or if I should do a separate video and include snippets of the sound of the songs. I would certainly do that if you ask for it. So there you have it. Please let me know in the comments what you think. And I am done. I'm going to go ahead and give my voice a rest. I think I covered everything, and I want to urge you again, always, please try to be more intelligent.